right. Thank everybody for being here to talk
Yay.
about the wit and wisdom of Mark Twain. And we're going to take this, as I said earlier, because we're going to be sending it to Hollywood. Come on in and have a candy. There's some Sheesh candy back there for you. You know, I don't know where the idea to do this came from. It just hit me one day that I wanted to do something about Mark Twain. And so I started looking things up on the internet, and I ordered a book, and I went, wow, so brilliant. And I didn't realize how many speeches he had given over the years to make a living, in addition to his writing. And after I came up with the idea to do this and bring Gary into it, because he has this incredible voice, which probably sounds a lot like Mark Twain, that little bit of Southern twang, and he has a lot of volume from his background as a preacher. So shortly after I decided to do this and did a little bit of research, by accident, I found this incredible, absolutely incredible PBS documentary about Mark Twain. And for those of you that might want to watch it, it's on Prime, if you happen to have Prime. If you don't, get together with a neighbor and watch it. It's incredible. What it talks about is him as a human being and some of his frailties. And one of the frailties that he had was that he was a very poor businessman. He made a lot of very bad decisions and investments in things that didn't work out. And he had to go back on the road, if you will, to auditoriums without microphones. They didn't have them back then. And he had to go out on the road and give these speeches where he was given a stipend, a rather substantial amount of money for giving the speech. At other times, he was given awards and showed up to accept the award or an honorary degree of one type or another. Now, before I get started, I would like everybody, as you all know, I play poker, and I play in poker tournaments. Most of you know that. And so many of you, I've requested that if I had a bad time in the poker tournaments, you would help me out by helping me out with the rent money. And I'd like to acknowledge all of you that did that. Would you please raise your hands? Oh, goodness gracious, none of you. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way. And by the way, if you want something a little sweet, there's some Sheesh candy back there on the back table.
Yes, and it's good.
That you can imbibe. There's plenty of it. Make sure it gets eaten.
Oh.
You know, Twain was an incredible human being, in addition to being an incredible author, the quintessential American author without question. And he grew up in the South, in Missouri, which was a slavery state. He grew up in an era of slavery, and then what happened after slavery, which was just as bad. And he never had a bigotry or a prejudice. In his life, in his speeches, he said there's no difference between the Jew and the Gentile. There's no difference between the black man, the red man, the yellow man, or the white man. There's no difference between our ethnicity or our race. He was truly a marvelous, marvelous human being. And if he was here today, I've always wondered, what would he be thinking about what's going on? You know, I think he might be kind of thinking the way I am. And I won't go there because that's about political. So I invited Gary to do this because I truly do think he's very talented. He's in our drama group. And he's going to honor us by giving us the background and then a speech that was given by Mark Twain. Gary, come on up.
Yay, Jerry! Yay, Jerry!
Thank you very much.
Oh, did I knock it out?
Well, my wife suggested that I should wear a big old white wig and a white suit to go along with it. But we didn't plan that far ahead, so this is what you get. A little background on this particular script, and I do apologize that I'll be reading the script because I don't memorize like I used to. This is the story of the Ascot Gold Cup. The news of Mr. Clemens' arrival in England in June of 1907 was announced in the papers with big headlines. Immediately following the announcement was the news, also with big headlines, that the Ascot Gold Cup had been stolen the same day. The combination, Mark Twain arrives, Ascot Gold Cup stolen. amuse the public. So the Lord Mayor of London gave a banquet at the Mansion House in honor of Mr. Clemens. And since I don't smoke a cigar or a cigarette, maybe a toothpick. I do assure you that I am not so dishonest as I look. I have been so busy trying to rehabilitate my honor about that Ascot Gold Cup that I have no plans to, and have had no time to prepare a speech. I was not so honest in my former days as I am now, but I have always been reasonably honest. Well, you know how a man is influenced by his surroundings. Once upon a time, I went to a public meeting where the oratory of a charitable worker so worked on my feelings that in common with others, I would have dropped something substantial in the hat if it had been come around at that moment. I would have dropped something substantial. The speaker had the power of putting those vivid pictures before one. We were all affected. That was the moment for the hat. I would have put $200 in. Before he had finished, I could have put $400 in. I felt I could have filled up a blank check with somebody else's name on it and dropped it in. Well, now, another speaker got up. In 15 minutes time, he damped my spirit. And during the speech of that third speaker, all my enthusiasm went away. When at last the hat came around, I dropped in 10 cents. And took out 25. I came over here to get the honorary degree from Oxford, and I would have encompassed the 7 C's for an honor like that, the greatest honor that has ever fallen to my share. I am grateful to Oxford for conferring that honor upon me, and I am sure my country appreciates it because, first and foremost, it is an honor to my country. And now I am going home again across the sea. I am in spirit young, but in the flesh old, so that it is unlikely that when I go away, I shall ever see England again. But I shall go with the recollection of the generous and kindly welcome I have had. I suppose I must say goodbye. I say it not with my lips only, but also from the heart.
Oh.
Wow. Hey.
Oh, that's great.
Well done,
How do I
Gary.
follow this guy? Wow, Gary, incredible. And by the way, he did read his speeches. He didn't memorize them. You know, he stood here like you did, and he read them. I'm going to alternate between being Jerry Foreman and Mark Twain. Now, first I'm going to give you the background on this speech. You want me over this way a little bit?
Yeah, the light
Okay.
on your face.
I'm going to alternate between being Jerry Foreman and being Mark Twain. And as Jerry Foreman, I'm going to give you a little background on the next speech. A new German word, that's the subject of this speech. To aid a local charity, Mr. Clemens, of course, we all know Sam Clemens was his real name. And by the way, does anybody here know how he came up with the name Mark Twain? I was fascinated to find out. And how was it,
It has
Donna?
to do with ships on the water.
It has to do with ships on the water, and it's a measurement. The
Yeah.
Mark Twain is the ideal place to be when you're going down the Mississippi River in one of those steamboats, and he was at one time a steamboat captain. So to aid a local charity, Mr. Clemens appeared before a fashionable audience in Vienna, March 10th, 1899, reading his sketch called, quote, The Lucerne Girl, and describing how he had been interviewed and ridiculed. He said in part, I have not sufficiently mastered German to allow my using it with impunity. My collection of 14-syllable German words is still incomplete. But I have just added to that collection a jewel, a veritable jewel. I found it in a telegram from Linz, and it contains 95 letters. Personally kommen Stunden Strachen Russen Commission talking mit Stücke von 100 Stationen If I could get a similar word engraved upon my tombstone, I should sleep beneath it in peace. Our children and great discoveries delivered at the Authors Club, New York. Our children, yours and mine, they seem like little things to talk about, our children, but you know, little things often make up the sum of human life. That's a good sentence. I'll repeat it. Little things often produce great things. Now, to illustrate, take Sir Isaac Newton. I presume some of you have heard of Mr. Newton. Well, once when Sir Isaac Newton, a mere lad, got over into the man's apple orchard, I don't know what he was doing there. I didn't come along all this way from Hartford to Question question Mr. Newton's honesty. But when he was there in the main orchard, he saw an apple fall, and he was attracted to it. And that led to the discovery, not of Mr. Newton, but of the great law of attraction and gravitation. And there was once another great discoverer. His name I've forgotten, and I don't remember what he discovered. But I know it was something very important, and I hope you will all tell your children about it when you get them. Well, when the great discoverer was once loafing around down in Virginia, and putting in his time flirting with Pocahontas, old Captain John Smith, that was the man's name. And while he and Polka were sitting in Mr. Powthan's garden, he accidentally put his arm around her and picked some simple weed, which proved to be tobacco. And now we find it in every Christian family, shredding its civilizing influence broadcast throughout the whole religious community. Now there was another great man, I can't think of his name either, who used to loaf around and watch the great chandelier in the cathedral at Pisa, which set him to thinking about the great law of gunpowder. And eventually he led to the discovery of the cotton gin. Now, I don't say this as an inducement to our young men to loaf around like Mr. Newton and Mr. Galileo and Captain Smith, but they were once little babies, 2 days old. And they show what little things can sometimes be accomplished. Mark Twain. I'll give you another one. This was courage. This was courage. Courage. At a beefsteak dinner given by artists, caricaturists, and humorists of New York City, April 18, 1908, Mr. Clemens, Mr. H.H. Rogers, and Mr. Patrick McQuarrie were the guests of honor. Each wore a white apron, and each made a short speech. In the matter of courage, we all have our limits. There was never a hero who did not have his bounds. I suppose it may be said of Newton and all the others whose courage has been advertised, that there came times in their lives when their bravery knew it had come to its limit. I have known a man who was not afraid to sleep with a rattlesnake, but you could not get him to sleep with a safety razor. I never had the courage to talk across a long, narrow room. I should be at the end of the room facing all the audience. If I attempt to talk across a room, I find myself turning this way and that. And thus, at alternate periods, I have part of the audience behind me. You ought never to have part of the audience behind you. You can never tell what they're going to do when you sit down. Gary, come on up. Yeah, we're going to give you one more. Can you handle that, Gary?
I don't know. I got a little ad lib.
And by the way, this is my favorite one. I gave it to Gary.
And before we get to that, I got to ad lib this one. I like cats. They're quieter than children.
They are.
We had one who was a Presbyterian soprano. She would sing out on the back fence every night. Once, I was a newspaper correspondent, had a little stint in Washington. There was a young congressman who got a bill passed to construct a dam where there was no water. And then they had an investigation, but they didn't know there was no water until the dam was built. And then they had an investigation to see if they could build a river to save the dam. God made idiots first. That was a test. Then he made Congress. Mr. Clemens was a prolific billiards player. That's what he wanted to do. That was his passion. He attended a billiards tourney on the evening of April 24, 1906, and was called on to tell a story. The game of billiards has destroyed my naturally sweet disposition. Once when I was an underpaid reporter in Virginia City, whenever I wished to play billiards, I went out to look for an easy mark. One day, a stranger came to town and opened a new billiards parlor. I looked him over casually. When he proposed a game, I answered, "All right. Just knock the balls around a little so I can get your gait," he said. And when I had done so, he remarked, "I will be perfectly fair with you. I will play you left-handed." I felt hurt, for he was cross-eyed, freckle-faced, and had red hair. And I determined to teach him a lesson. He won first shot, ran out, took my $50, and all I got was the opportunity to chalk my cue. If you can play like that with your left hand, I said, I'd like to see you play with your right. I can't, he said. I'm left-handed.
Well done, Gary. Yeah, Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain. Where does that come from? The incredible wit and humor. I'm going to take a couple minutes to just read some things, not speeches, but these are excerpts from speeches and things that were attributed to Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain. And this is in a section of a book called On Love, Friendship, and Family. When I was a boy of 14, my father was so ignorant I could hardly stand to have the old man around. But when I got to be 21, I was astonished at how much he had learned in 7 years. We can all relate to that. Yeah. I have been complimented myself a great many times, and compliments always embarrass me. I always feel they have not said enough. And this is on the human condition and other afflictions. He was a good doctor and a good man, and he had a good heart. But one had to know him a year to get over hating him. Nothing needs reforming so much as other people's habits. Oh, gosh. You know, if we could go back and say, who do we want to have lunch with, those would definitely be one of the people in there. Necessarily, we are all fond of murders, scandals, swindles, robberies, explosions, collisions, and all such things when we knew the people and when they are the neighbors and friends. But when they are strangers, we do not get any pleasure out of them as a rule. Oh, Lord. In a speech that he gave concerning the Jews during a time of and I hate to say it again, rampant anti-Semitism, he said, shabbiness and dishonesty are not the monopoly of any race or creed. They are merely human. Isn't that beautiful? By trying, we can easily learn to endure adversity. Another man's, I mean. Samuel Clemens. If a person offend you, this is his advice to the young, by the way. If a person offend you, and you are in doubt as to whether it was intentional or not, do not resort to extreme measures. Simply watch your chance, and hit him with a brick. The history of our race and each individual's experience are sown thick with evidence that a truth is not hard to kill and that a lie, told well, is immortal. Wow. From the Refuge of Derelicts, the publication, there's a good spot tucked away somewhere in everybody. You'll be a long time finding it sometimes. Don't you know that the very thing a man dreads is the thing that always happens? Isn't that the truth? A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is putting on its own shoes. If you pick up a starving dog and make him prosperous, he will not bite you. This is the principal difference between a dog and a man. On womankind.
Uh-oh.
As a sweetheart, she has few equals and no superiors. As a cousin, she is convenient. As a wealthy grandmother with an incurable distemper, she is precious. As a wet nurse, she has no equal among men. A human being has a natural desire to have more of a good thing than he needs. Oh, I like the truth. Let us be thankful for the fools, but for them, the rest of us could not succeed. I was born modest. Not all over, but in spots. This is from a section called On the Almighty Dollar. I love this one. A dollar picked up in the road is more satisfying to you than the 99 that you had to work for. Responding to a friend's accumulation that a wealthy industrial's money was tainted. That's right, taint yours and taint mine. This has got to be one of my favorites. Listen up. A banker is a fellow who lends you his umbrella when the sun is shining and wants it back the minute it begins to rain.
That's right.
Ever since I have been a director of an accident insurance company, I have felt that I am a better man. I look upon a cripple now with affectionate interest. As an advertisement, I do not seem to care for poetry anymore. I do not care for politics. Even agriculture does not excite me. But to me now, there is a charm about a railway collision that is unspeakable. There are two times in a man's life when he shouldn't speculate. When he can't afford it, and when he can. The holy passion of friendship is so sweet and steady and loyal and enduring in nature that it will last through a whole lifetime, if not asked to lend money. I'm going to give you one more speech that he made. And this was at Missouri University speech address that he delivered on June 4th, 1902 at Columbia, Missouri. When the name Samuel L. Clemens was called, the humorist stepped forward, put his hand to his hair, and apparently hesitated. There was a dead silence for a moment. Suddenly, the entire audience rose and stood in silence. Someone began to spell out the word Missouri. That was his home state, by the way, with an interval between the letters. All joined in. Then the house again became silent. Mr. Clemens broke the spell. As you are all standing, I guess, I suppose I better stand too. As the great humorist spoke of his recent visit to Hannibal, his home, his voice trembled. You cannot know what a strain it was on my emotions. In fact, when I found myself shaking hands with persons I had not seen for 50 years and looking into wrinkled faces that were so young and joyous when I last saw them, I experienced emotions that I had never expected and did not know that were in me. I was profoundly moved and saddened to think that this was the last time, perhaps, that I would never behold those kind old faces and dear old scenes of childhood. He was particularly amused at the eulogy of himself read by Gardner Lathrop in conferring a degree upon him, an honorary degree. He has a fine opportunity to distinguish himself, said Mr. Clemens, by telling the truth about me. I have seen it stated in print that as a boy, I have been guilty of stealing peaches, apples, and watermelons. I read a story to this effect very closely not long ago, and I was convinced of one thing, which says the man that wrote it was of the opinion that it was wrong to steal, and that I had not acted right in doing so. I wish now, however, to make an honest statement, which is that I do not believe in all my checkered career
I stole a ton of peaches. One night, I removed a watermelon from a wagon while the owner was attending to another customer. I crawled off to a secluded spot where I found that it was green. It was the greatest melon in the Mississippi Valley. Then I began to reflect. I began to be sorry. I wondered what George Washington would have done had he been in my place. I thought a long time and then suddenly felt that strange feeling which comes to a man with a good resolution. And I took up that watermelon and took it back to its owner. I handed him that watermelon and told him to reform. He took my lecture much to heart, and when he gave me a good one in place of the green one, I forgave him. I told him that I would still be a customer of his and that I cherished no ill feeling because of the incident that would remain green in my memory. Where does this brilliance come from? I'm going to share a couple more little homilies and excerpts. This one is on the Grim, his version, and little excerpts on the Grim Reaper. I did not attend, oh, I love this. Oh. I did not attend his funeral, but I wrote a nice letter saying I approved of it. Beyond brilliant, huh? Let us endeavor to live that when we come to die, even the undertaker will be sorry. Oh, isn't that sweet? Yeah, okay. And I'm going to finish up with this one. How often we recall, with regret, that Napoleon once shot a magazine editor and missed him and killed a publisher. But we remember with charity that his intentions were good. Hey, thank you all for coming. Wonderful. I hope you enjoyed Mark Twain.
Wonderful. Thank y'all.
Oh, and I would like to say one thing. I have one rose left, and we gave these out to as many single women
That's
here
right.
as we possibly could, and this is the only one. If you didn't get a rose, this represents you. And this is for all of you or any of you who didn't get a rose. Happy Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Everybody.
And as a single lady, I really appreciate my rose.
All right. Good day, everybody.
Thank y'all.
I enjoyed that.
Yes, sir.
A lot of folks don't know it, but Mr. Clemens had a middle name.
L.
Now, I beg your pardon?
The initial was L.
That's the clue.
Louis?
No.
Leonardo?
Langhorn.
I beg your pardon?
Langhorn.
Langhorn?
Langhorn. And that was his son's name. Did you know he had a son that died
No, I didn't.
very early in life, and then followed with 3 daughters that survived? Yeah. Watch, do you get Prime? You will love, absolutely, I don't know if you were here when I mentioned it, there's this fabulous, that documentary from fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like I couldn't turn it off, binge watch the whole thing. Thank you, the Langhorn, right? And he named his son Langhorn. His son was born
Samuel
feeble.
Langhorn Clemens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go home and find that documentary.
Oh, it's wonderful.
It's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
really good.
enjoyed it. It
Yeah.
just wasn't long enough.
Yeah, that was really.
I think you should give
Thanks,
the
Gary.
rose to,
That was great, you were great.
I think you should give the rose to Gary.
Thank you.
Gary, Gary, did a great job.
Thank you.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Nothing that I
Thank you,
used
Mark.
to say,
Nothing what?
none of the things we used to say are what I heard you say. Now,
Yeah,
can
I
I
did.
remember what we used to
I
say?
did a lot of research and I bought this book.
Left out the line about
Was there any expensive?
cat.
Shipped it for free.
If you cross a man with a cat, you improve the man and deteriorate the cat. How are you? Was it worth the trip?
Yeah, it was okay. I said it in the back and I couldn't hear, so.
Compared to
I
what?
tried to talk a little louder than
How are you?
I'm okay.
Yes.
I should have moved up front, but I didn't want to make a spectacle out of you, I mean me.
Yeah.
So how are everything else?
Well, all right as it can be.
Well,
Did make a doctor appointment today.
oh, you did? Good. Now, which one?
Well, it was the retina doctor.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's
Strength.
macular degeneration or just what, but, they say it's, caused by rheumatoid arthritis.
You know, my wife went to a doctor that's supposed to be a retina doctor for 7 or 8 months. And he kept saying that, well, you're supposed to have a detached retina, but it's not.
Oh, she's got retina problems.
She has some, fluid that builds up in the retina, causes blurred vision.
Do they drain it or what do they do?
Yeah, the shot, the medicine that is injected in there, just, I don't know, dries it up, dissipates it, causes it to dissipate.
Huh. Well, I called my doctor back about the vision, and she said, well, we just sent the orders over there.
Oh, for the infusion.
Yeah, now I went Tuesday, you know, everyone sent them. So now I'm waiting on the infusion doctor.
Now they have to call you for the appointment.
Yeah, they're coming for my appointment. And then we're not gonna agree on the first appointment, I already know that.
Of course.
That's the definition of the first appointment. isn't it?
Yeah, the first
Yeah.
appointment is, no, that's not gonna work for you.
Yeah, so. Well, you did all right, I didn't know you had it in you.
You were funny.
Well,
You would've looked better with a fake cigar though.
I would've, wouldn't I?
Yeah.
It would've looked better, if I had a little white wig, would've been better too.
A white wig, a fake cigar, and a white suit.
I tell you, I watched, Hal Holbrook
Oh,
on YouTube doing him, boy, that's what I think of when I think of Mark Twain, I think of Hal Holbrook. That's all I know.
Well, we were
I think we
digital
must
already.
have had
We went to
Al
see.
Holbrook. Is there a movie of him doing it?
I think there